cockroaches and parasites wiping cow dung on their face and then like sleeping with white men's wives, because, oh, well, he's a doctor and I could have a better life over here, and
Ugh,
then the next thing
gross.
you know, you're with some fat, fupa, stinky, like disgusting cow dung ridden dot head Indian that will never assimilate into your culture ever. They brush their teeth with this stuff. They eat soup that's this stuff. They're disgusting, parasitic people. And then we want to embrace them. And then Fox tells you how excited you should be that all of these Indians are coming here and that we're going to be so much more intellectually advanced and technologically sound because of the Indians. No, they are third world parasites and they're pieces of crap and they're terrible people who have no moral ground or upstanding. And you're right, they don't value the human life and they gang rape women. That's who these people are.
I mean, the first and most important question to ask, and this is a classic question by Thomas Sowell, is, and it applies to any group: which Indians? Is he talking about, people who actually go to IT and university in India and actually remarkably do better than in engineering and in STEM in comparison to Americans, and then actually come over here, or is he talking about the rural areas? It seems like he's only mentioning the rural areas, which, I mean, makes sense. I mean, they do stuff with cow dung and whatever, but what does it have to do with the people who's actually getting admitted into America by the H1B visas? It has nothing. Everything that he's saying has nothing to do with the H1B visas at all.
And more fundamentally, I mean, um, not that assimilating people is some type of magic sorting device, but what does it say about an American culture and infrastructure that can't handle people with backward practices? I mean, what's driving the fear here? Um, like, what's the fear of these allegedly, for lack of, like, just to sum it all up, primitive people? In his estimation, what's the fear of them if the policing system is working properly, the law system is working properly, but even more fundamentally, if American culture is such that they wouldn't accept those type of people, or not even those, let me not say those type of people, but like people who practice these kind of crazy things in public, like like the idea that a bunch of people messing with cow dung in the middle of the street would just kind of, in the middle of New York City, and we just kind of go, like, it doesn't matter. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, there is a point to be made that there is something deeply disturbing and wrong with praying and swimming in cow dung, but the idea that it could come into America and become a prevalent thing is probably one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever heard. I don't think that
But
America's American culture is so down far below the rabbit hole where
but
we're
it's
really
also
open to that type of thing.
it's also like an unseriousness with respect to like cultural practice. I mean, there's not a serious grappling what's at the root of this cultural practice. Like, it's very important to note that the cow dung thing is, I'm no expert, but it's a religious practice primarily. So a serious thinking about why this weird cultural practice, and many, I'd argue many, if not the majority of like weird cultural practices coming from another place, are religious in nature. And I think an interesting part of this is, you know, it seems to be the more religious side of the political spectrum that's this anti-immigration. Not to say that there aren't secular people, but the source of this weird cultural practice is faith and religion based. And faith is the destruction of, any of rationality. And in fact, faith is responsible for deprecating American culture to such a state where it can't handle assimilating people into a better culture and persuading people into a better culture. What is this? So it's not a racial, some racial thing that produces this weird culture in Indian people. No more different than it was a racial thing, thousands of years ago that, Nordic tribes had weird practices, and barbaric practices. I'm sure you can find some tribes in the history of Europe where people ate cow dung. Maybe they didn't praise it and pray to it, but they probably did weird things with other animal parts and feces and human sacrifice. So the real root, if you actually a serious analysis of what's wrong with the culture in India, and in fact what's wrong with the culture in America, to deeply recognize how religion is a destructive element in both societies, maybe more so in India. And America is a product of a society who had a cultural shift away from that. It's also the Enlightenment that produces such genius ideas as, or it's not genius ideas, but such a growth in immigration and economic growth across the world because of said immigration, particularly in America. I mean, in human history, people moved and migrated a whole bunch of places. Nobody made it as good as America with such a state of migration and immigration.
One of the basic things that's not being grasped is that, yes, this guy is correct in his analysis that a big part of Indian culture is that these people are, involving themselves in crime, praying and swimming in cow dung. Okay, whatever. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of aspects in which their culture is terrible. Okay, we agree on that. The problem is that the people who are coming over here in America through H1B visas, they want to get away from that. They want to assimilate into America and want to be able to, get an engineering job in a business and stuff like that, so they can make $1 million corporation. So people like you, other Americans, could actually work underneath them and get more jobs. If that's what they really promote, if all Indians really promoted cow dung and everything, why would they come to America in the first place? They would just stay in India. They wouldn't even go get educated. They would literally go move to the rural parts and continue practicing swimming in cow dung. But they don't. They want to come to America so they can do American things like own a business, start a job, or own a business, start a corporation, hire people, get money, essentially live the American dream.